Hello and welcome to Tribune Sports Live. I'm Zach Steele along with Tribune publisher Scott Buttram. Scott, we've got two teams in the area that finished 10-0, Hewitt and Pinson Valley.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty monumental thing for a small town newspaper to have two teams with undefeated regular seasons. First time in Pinson Valley history they've had an undefeated season. Second time in Hewitt-Trussville history that they've had an undefeated season, and first time they've gone back-to-back with undefeated regular seasons.
So Hewitt's won 20 regular season games in a row. That's a pretty tall, impressive feat.
I don't care who you're playing. To win 20 straight regular season games is a big deal. That's 14 straight region games, and that coaching staff is to be congratulated, as is the Pinson coaching staff. Just a fantastic job by both programs.
And Springville finished their season up at St. Clair County Friday night. They fall to them in that rivalry game. They finish up 2-8.
They do, and the two wins are something to build on. It's a very young team. You're going to have most of those guys coming back, so that's a positive for Springville. I think they would have probably liked the rivalry game with St. Clair County to be a little bit more of a rivalry game, but the kids didn't quit. A lot of fight in them. St. Clair County is just a better program at this moment.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Hewitt-Trussville. They struggled a little bit at home against Florence. We'll talk a little bit more about that after the break.
Trussville Vision Care is now proud to offer sports vision training for athletes. This sports-specific training improves hand-eye coordination and reaction time. As a former college athlete, Dr. Steele knows how important perfect vision is to succeed on the athletic field. For athletes, 20/20 vision is not enough. Trussville Vision Care.
Jefferson Memorial Funeral Home and Gardens is home-owned and operated by the Seal family. I've known Eddie Seal and his son Adam for over 25 years. They're community-oriented and, more importantly, good folks who know how to take care of people in their time of need. That's how Jefferson Memorial became Trussville's funeral home and cemetery. Jefferson Memorial is located at 1591 Gadsden Highway. You can call them at 322-0543. Before your need arises, let Jefferson Memorial family take care of your family.
All right, welcome back. And Scott, the Huskies hosted Florence Friday night in their regular season finale. Let's talk a little bit about first what happened before the game and off the field.
Yeah, one of the big stories from Friday night was the pregame prayer. They had received a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation asking that they, or actually demanding rather that they stop the pregame prayer. So that was a big story. We won't get into it a lot on the sports side here, but it will be a focus of the printed issue this week of the Tribune. It was a focus on the editorial side of TrussvilleTribune.com over the weekend, where the students during the volunteer student-led prayer, they stood up in unison and did the Lord's Prayer. So we'll talk about that more on the news side, but that was an interesting event to kind of get the night started.
All right, absolutely. On to the game. Hewitt-Trussville wins 45-35, but showed a few warts in this ball game, especially on the defensive side.
The last thing that Josh Lloyd would have wanted to do going into playoff week is hand opponents a blueprint for staying with the Huskies, because frankly, I don't think any team has really been able to stay with them all year. But Florence, a team that is going to finish the regular season with a losing record, came in and went blow for blow, and they did it by running the ball. Their tailback had 370 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. That's a problem, and it's a problem that needs to be resolved. And it's not a problem that just showed up this week.
Yeah. Well, and the crazy thing about the touchdowns is they weren't, one was a 6-yard run, but the rest of them, 75, 85, 95-yard touchdown runs. I mean, those are big plays, and those are momentum changers, and that's something that they have to get correct.
Yeah, you and I have watched a lot of high school football from the time that we were playing it growing up into adult. Have you ever seen an individual performance like that?
Actually, I can say once I saw, and this was against me, Sincade Pennington, he went to playing at Auburn, the Charles Henderson of Troy. He had a game like that, 75-yard, 85-yard run, and
I've never seen one like it. It was discouraging because Hewitt's got a pretty good defense, but this guy did not make them look good Friday night. If you're going to win a championship, you better get that fixed today.
And that was a true freshman running back too, so that kid's got a bright future. So We'll get more into the playoffs in a little bit. We'll mention Hewitt's opponent right now. They're taking on Spain Park, a team that's 6-4, was the number 4 seed in their region. Had some close games with folks, so and they play a lot of close. They've played close games with Hewitt in the past. I think the last 2 games that they've played with Hewitt have gone to overtime.
Right.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about Pinson Valley, their tune-up victory on Friday night, getting ready for the playoffs, and the return of Bo Nix. We'll be back.
Added Storage is the newest state-of-the-art storage facility for the Trussville area. The first month is free, no contracts, easy move-ins, 24-hour access, and state-of-the-art security. Added Storage is guaranteed to match or beat any price in the Trussville area. Murdoch Tire, home of the $27.99 oil changes that includes free tire rotation, also specializing in brake service, alignments, and new tire sales. College Prep U provides families with an expert admissions guide throughout the college search, admissions, and financial aid process. Our dedicated experts help high school students identify their college goals and reach those goals.
All right, welcome back. And Scott, Pinson Valley finishes their regular season 10-0, a blowout, dominating win over Pleasant Grove, and Bo Nix is back.
Yeah, dominating. In fact, so much that they played 8-minute quarters in the second half.
Wow.
Bo Nix is back, and this is what's interesting. They had developed with Bo Nix out into a true 2-headed monster with Matthews and White both bringing a ton to the table. I really started to question whether or not Bo Nix was coming back. I started thinking maybe they're preparing for worse. Well, he was back. He only played the first half, and he lit up Pleasant Grove like a firecracker.
Yeah, he didn't know anything about being rusty, did he?
Yeah.
He was fantastic. 16 for 26, 265 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
Pinson's defense clamped down again like they almost seem to always do. Pinson going forward, we've already talked about this, they're going to be formidable in the playoffs.
Pinson is looking more and more like a 6A world beater, and Pleasant Grove was not a great team. Okay, we knew that going in. But when you play a team like that, what you want to see from a championship contender is total domination on both sides of the ball. And Pinson Valley is totally dominating opponents going down the stretch and headed into the playoffs. Coach Nix has them right where he wants them.
Absolutely.
He's not telling them that at practice this week.
Absolutely not. So, all right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Springville, their season finale against St. Clair County. We'll be back in just a moment.
Lighting Concepts would like to thank the community for supporting their Black Star event, where they gave away more than $20,000 in lighting fixtures and ceiling fans. Visit their showroom, where you'll discover thousands of items featuring name brand designs and guaranteed to be helped with a friendly smile and great service. RE/MAX Trussville is owned by Alan and Nancy Drinkard with more than 30 years of combined experience. The staff are experienced, knowledgeable, and dedicated to meeting your needs. When you choose a RE/MAX sales associate to help you buy or sell, you'll experience a whole new level of service. Wiggins Insurance is Birmingham's home for low-cost auto insurance. Their mission is to provide the best service in the industry by shopping multiple carriers at once for you. David and his team will help you understand the process, and they'll be there to answer questions.
Welcome back. And Scott, Springville went on the road to St. Clair County, took on a pretty good St. Clair County team, finished the regular season 8-2. They lose this one 26-0, and it's kind of a repeat performance for them for the way they've been most of the season. Struggle offensively, defense eventually kind of caves in, and they wound up losing this game. But some stuff to build on for next year.
There really are, and Matt Glover has done a great job building that St. Clair program in his first year there. And we've watched that. That's kind of been one of the side stories all year, his first year at St. Clair County and what he's been able to do with that program. So we knew what Springville was walking into Friday night. And that is a pretty decent rivalry game. It probably didn't feel like a good rivalry to Springville, but an extremely young team, an extremely small team, looking for positives. And to end the season, not just with 2 wins, but seeing some players, some of these Tigers beginning to emerge as leaders. This coaching staff has something to build on for next year. And I think the next couple of years of Springville football is going to be pretty good football.
I think if they can, get some strength and conditioning, and I think one of the things that they'll tell you is our kids aren't big enough and strong enough, so that's going to be important in the offseason. They've got a good quarterback coming back in Austin Hutchinson, so they've got a chance to be good. Going back to St. Clair County, Matt Glover left Pinson, came to St. Clair County. We know that he's a good football coach.
Yeah.
How much does Bo Nix owe to Matt Glover?
Well, Pat Nix,
Pat Nix.
Owes a lot because he did leave a good foundation there. I don't think Pinson last year really played up to the expectations of Glover or the fan base, and I think they were looking to take the next step and bringing Nix in, and you got a tandem there, okay? You got a really good coach in Patrick Nix coming in, but he brings with him his junior son, who's an outstanding quarterback, one of the top recruits in the state. So when you have the opportunity to get a guy like that, you make that decision, and I'm sure it was tough on a lot of people to see Glover leave, but Nix has certainly lived up to the billing. On the sideline, Nix, and on the field, Nix. So both have lived up to it, and Pinson has taken that step. So no regrets there.
Absolutely. Probably on either side, I would imagine, because Matt Glover's going to the playoffs too this week.
That's right, and Matt's probably got a good fit for himself at St. Clair County. So it's one of those deals where I really think it kind of worked out for everybody involved.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, when we come back, we're going to preview some of these playoff games coming up this week.
At Alabama Orthopedic Spine and Sports, we partner with you to create a comprehensive treatment plan and, if needed, the most advanced surgical options available. Alabama Orthopedic Spine and Sport, like having a doctor in the family.
Paul Davis Emergency Services of Northeast Birmingham helps by providing needed cleanup and restoration services. Through the appropriate tools and processes, we avoid wasting valuable time to get your property to its previous state as quickly as we possibly can.
Jefferson Title and Closing is committed to providing superior service in the field of closing services, title search, and title insurance. We are proud to join the Trussville community and would like to say thank you for the warm welcome.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and this is Christy, and we're the team leaders of the Sergeant McDonald team.
Give us a call if you're looking for a home in the Eastern Birmingham market.
All right, welcome back. And Scott, the second season begins. We've got 3 teams in our region going to the playoffs. All 3 of the teams are either a 1 or a 2 seed, Clay being the 2 seed. We'll start with Hewitt. They're taking on Spain Park, a team that finished 6-4 in their region. A tough region. You know, they got Thompson in that region. They've got Hoover in that region. They played a close game with Hoover. They played a close game with Mountain Brook. They did not play a close game with Thompson. A team that probably talent level not quite there with Hewitt, but they're a well-coached bunch.
They are a very well-coached bunch. Spain, let's go ahead. But Spain Park is not as good as Hewitt-Trussville. But this is the playoffs, and all that goes out the window right now. They're good enough. They're good enough to compete with Hewitt. They're good enough to win the ball game. So even though they're not as good as Hewitt, they're good enough to mess up this season in the first week of the playoffs. So Hewitt-Trussville is going to have to come in totally focused and understand that from past experiences, and they do understand this because there have been overtime games with Spain Park before. Spain Park's going to come and bring its A game. So Trussville's got to do the same. And they've got to get the run under control because you do not want Spain Park to be able to rush the ball and control the clock and keep your offense off the field. Josh Floyd wants his guys out there running that score up because that's what they do better than anything else. So it's going to be a tough game. Don't let the records fool you. Hewitt's going to have their hands full, and if they come out focused and prepared, then round 1 should be theirs. But they've got to come ready to play football.
Absolutely. Looking around the region pairings, Hoover's going to take on Sparkman, a team that Hewitt beat 34-27 a few weeks back. Sparkman's not a bad team either. They're in the top 10.
That's right. So that'll be a good matchup and a measuring stick. Hewitt's not going to be looking ahead, but the fans are a little bit, okay?
And you and I can too.
Yeah, we will, because that's part of what we do anyway, naturally. But we know how the brackets stack up. So we know, should Hewitt take care of business Friday night, what's waiting in round 2, and it will be the winner of that Hoover matchup. So we'll be looking at 2 things. One, how does Hoover play coming off of 2 losses, back-to-back losses to Thompson and then IMG this past Friday night? So how do they play coming off of 2 losses? And how do they stack up against a team that Hewitt has already played? Matt, you and I both know matchups, common matchups aren't always a great barometer, but it's interesting to look at. So those are the 2 things we'll be watching Friday night outside of Trussville.
Mountain Brook heads up to take on our number 2 seed in our region, Bob Jones, a team that Hewitt handled pretty easily.
Right.
Mountain Brook got absolutely run in Week 10 by Ramsey, a 6A school. So your thoughts on that one?
I think that's a better barometer game to watch. In terms of comparing one region to another, I think that's a little better one to watch. It's also another matchup and there's several matchups actually, that are going to give us a chance to see how the Huntsville region compared to the Metro Birmingham region. With Trussville playing up in the Huntsville region, this is the second year of the 2-year deal there. Then they'll take every 2 years they relook that. Obviously, Trussville people would love to be playing away games in the Metro Birmingham area, but not to get too far down, that's a spring decision. But these games coming up in the playoffs are going to give us a chance to look at one region compared to another. And we'll have a better idea, I think, going into week 2. Where
I think so.
stands.
Absolutely. Moving to 6A. All right, so we've got Pinson. They're going to host the team that Hewitt struggled with a little bit last week in Florence. Your thoughts on that one?
That's going to be interesting to watch. I think Pinson has a first-class defense. I think Pinson is better at stopping the run than Hewitt-Trussville. So that was a one-man wrecking crew. 370 yards from one player.
From one guy.
I'm betting he doesn't have a night like he did last Friday, this Friday.
Probably not. And Clay, they're going to host I believe it's was it Muscle Shoals team they're going to take on?
I think that's correct.
Yeah. So they're going to take on a 5-5 Muscle Shoals team, the number 3 team in that region. Clay at home in Jerry Hood Field now.
Yeah.
They should handle that. They should handle them and move on.
I think so. I think Clay's a far better team than Muscle Shoals. I think Coach Gilmer will have them focused on the task at hand. He's going to remind them of the losses that they picked up and the opportunity they had in both of those games to not be in that position. So I think Clay will take care of business, and I think that they're going to handle their opponent very well, very easily in round 1.
And 6A, the 6A North, just looking around the 6A North, there are a lot of good teams in 6A North. You got Oxford, you've got Decatur, Austin. There are some very good teams. Let's not discount Ramsey, a team that beat Mountain Brook handily last week. They're in the playoffs. Shades Valley, another good team that's going to be in the playoffs. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. Whoever comes out of the 6A North is going to be a very good football team.
The Ramsey today is not the Ramsey that Pinson got early in the season. Ramsey is starting to come into their own. So that's going to be an interesting group to watch. There's also, and again, we won't see this until the championship weekend, so one of our teams has to get to Tuscaloosa for us to be able to enjoy these matchups.
Sure.
But there's some really good 6A teams in the South as well.
Absolutely. So that 6A is going to be, 6A is obviously more teams in the playoffs than 7A. It's going to be bigger. 7A, you kind of know everybody. 6A, you're going to run into some teams you may not see.
Well, the 7A playoff is exactly half the number of teams as the 6A playoff. So it is easier to look at everybody and kind of get a feel for what you're seeing.
Absolutely. Well, we'll come back. We'll do some predictions for you and get into these games. We'll be back in just a moment.
Trussville Vision Care is now proud to offer sports vision training for athletes. This sports-specific training improves hand-eye coordination and reaction time. As a former college athlete, Dr. Steele knows how important perfect vision is to succeed on the athletic field. For athletes, 20/20 vision is not enough. Trussville Vision Care.
Jefferson Memorial Funeral Home and Gardens is home-owned and operated by the Seal family. I've known Eddie Seal and his son Adam for over 25 years. They're community-oriented and, more importantly, good folks who know how to take care of people in their time of need. That's how Jefferson Memorial became Trussville's funeral home and cemetery. Jefferson Memorial is located at 1591 Gadsden Highway. You can call them at 322-0543. Before your need arises, let Jefferson Memorial family take care of your family.
All right, welcome back, Scott. Let's make some predictions and a correction. I said Muscle Shoals earlier to play in Clay-Chakville. It's going to be Athens, actually. So let's get into this first. Hewitt, Spain Park. Your thoughts on Spain Park coming over to take on Hewitt-Trussville?
Well, as I said, Hewitt-Trussville's a better team. Spain Park is good enough to cause trouble for Hewitt-Trussville, good enough to win the game if Hewitt-Trussville doesn't play their best game. I think Hewitt is going to play their best game. I think the Huskies are going to be on. I think the coaches are going to get their attention this week in practice. The good thing about a game like they had last Friday is they didn't lose it. and the coaches have a lot of teachable moments that will get those players' attention. So I think Hewitt comes out strong in the first round of the playoffs, 38-20 Hewitt-Trussville.
I like that score. I think Spain Park hangs around for a little while. I think that they've played some tough competition, and let's, that Florence game, I think Hewitt was looking ahead. I honestly think that they were overlooking Florence, especially on the defensive side of the football, and it cost them a little bit. I still think Hewitt wins this game. I think it's probably, like what you said, 38-24, 38-20, something like that. Clay-Chakville, they're at home against Athens, the number 3 seed in that region. Clay's had a couple of weeks to stew over that loss to Park Crossing.
Right.
So your thoughts there?
And that's the problem that Athens is going to have, is that Clay-Chakville has had 2 weeks to stew, and Coach Gilmer's had 2 weeks to get their attention. With 2 weeks before the playoffs, you could almost go back to 2-a-day mentality for a week before you start preparing for your opponent, and they know who their opponent is going to be. I think Clay-Chakville is going to come out and show out, and I think that bodes very poorly for Athens. I'm picking Clay-Chakville 42-7.
Yeah, I think Willie Miller's going to have a big night.
Yeah.
Because he didn't play well a couple weeks ago. Nobody played well for Clay
Right.
a couple weeks
Just
ago.
wasn't their night.
I think the defense is going to have a big night. Willie Miller's going to have a big night. I like that score. All right, Pinson and Florence. Florence came in and almost shocked the world last Friday night over here at Trussville.
Right.
What do you think Pinson does with them Friday?
Well, first of all, I think the Pinson defense does not let them get off the line of scrimmage. I think they're looking at what happened against Hewitt-Trussville, and they're saying we're going to stop this guy in the backfield. We're not going to let him get up a full head of steam, and they've got the defense to do that, to make adjustments before the game ever starts and go after him, and I think that's what they're going to do. And when you go back and look at the Hewitt-Trussville game, that's one guy you got to control. Pinson's going to know that going in, and they'll have that luxury. Pinson is a 3-headed monster on offense now, but they're going to go with the big guy.
Sure.
Bo's back, and this is going to be Bo's season to finish out. But the confidence that offensive group must have of being able to do it and do it with 3 different quarterbacks taking snaps. Their defense is playing lights out football. I think Pinson knows this is the first step toward a 6A state championship, and they're going to go for it. They're going to win and win big. I'm going 56-10 Pinson Valley over Florence.
I like that score too. I think the Florence game against Hewitt-Trussville got Pinson's attention.
Yep.
I think Bo Nix is going to have a big night,
I do too.
and I think he's chomping at the bit to be back. And the nice thing, like you said, is insert quarterback A, insert quarterback B, insert quarterback C.
Never seen anything like it.
And they will just keep rolling.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like Pinson in this game big too. So I think all 3 of our teams advance to the next round. Here's hoping they do well and hoping we have big crowds to support them. That's our show. For Scott Buttram, I'm Zach Steele. So long, everybody.